Parshat Hashavua, this week's portion. See, try to follow with your finger. This is just a preparation. After this class, you and I will learn and we'll do it. Parshat Hashavua, this week's Torah portion, Potachat, begins. Vayeitzei Yaakov miBeersheva, Vayelech Charana. That Yaakov went out from Beersheva, Vayelech Charana, and he went to a place called Haran. Kan Kapirish Rashi, like Rashi says, Chozra al Siyum Parsha Kodemet. This returns to the end of the previous Torah reading last week, where Yaakov ran away from his brother Esav. Rivka sent him away and said, "Leave, your brother Esav wants to kill you. Go to my brother," his mother Rivka says, "Go to my brother Lavan, and over there you'll find yourself a wife." But Torah yesh mashmud lakal. In the Torah, everything is important. Afilu me'ut muteret, even from an extra letter, nilmadot can be learned, halachot shlemot, whole laws. Whole Gemara, for instance, the Gemara Kedushin, about laws about marriage, right? Sometimes just from one letter can be taken. Kol shechen, how much more so, she'inyan shalem, a whole entire topic, if it's written in the Torah, and nishna mispar pamim, which is repeated several times, bevadai certainly, mishamesh, it is, hora'ah, a teaching, lidorot, for all generations. Try to follow along. Are you following along? L'chol zman, for all time, kol makom, all place, va'av zmanin uzo, even our present time, shekein Torah nitzchis, because the Torah is eternal. In other words, a person might say, "Come on, the times have changed. Now we have electricity, we have atomic power, we have psychiatry and psychology, and we have all these new methods of healing, and society is totally different. We have the internet." And so it's true that all that has changed, but human beings have not changed at all. Human beings are exactly the same as they were when the world was created. And in fact, now they're much worse. Back then, it says that Cain killed Hevel. He killed Hevel. It says that he called Damei Achicha. It said the bloods of your brother are calling. What are the bloods? So it says that he made a lot of holes in him. He didn't know how to kill people. There was no movies in those days. You didn't know how to, where the pressure points are, how the blood runs in the body, how to cut off a person's circulation. They didn't know how to kill a person. So therefore, Cain tried all these different ways of killing. It took him a long time to kill Hevel. And now in our generation that we're more civilized, so a person can just press a button, send an atomic bomb, and he can kill tens of, God forbid, of thousands of people in one instant. Doesn't even have to work, nothing whatsoever. Right? Sitting watching the television, legs crossed, up on this, drinking his coffee. Oh yeah, I forgot I was supposed to press the button. That's it. Tomorrow in the morning, reads in the newspapers, right? Asia destroyed. So that's progress. That's progress. So it says, therefore, human beings have not changed at all. The same jealousy, the same confusion, the same hatred, the same anxiety, the same selfishness. And throughout history, they found different ways of sort of reorienting, how do they call it, sublimating the selfishness into different forms, into army and battles, meditations and religions and this, but it comes out the same thing. So the Torah is coming to basically tell us that none of these things in man's human nature has not changed at all. and that the battle against it is the same exact battle. And the enemy is ourselves. So the Torah, how does the Torah do it? Every single word, every letter, especially, of course, every idea, especially an idea that's repeated over and over, must have some really valid importance to us right now. That's why God gave the Torah. God gave the Torah so that we would have not just a direction book, but also that the words of the Torah themselves give us power. When we read these words, these are the words of our Creator. And He's creating us right now, and the words are also alive right now. So these words have importance, and also, how much more so, the whole ideas. So here we have an idea that Yaakov left his parents from Beersheba, and he went to this place called Haran. When did this happen? Almost 4,000 years ago. What happened to him? What do we care? I mean, it really makes a big difference. Where is Haran? Today's Haran. Is Beersheba the same place as it was before? Maybe, yeah, maybe not. But even if it was, so what? What do we care where he went? What difference does it make? Says the Rebbe, well, if the Torah was just a history book, well, it's just a nice fact. But the fact is not so. The Torah is also a history book. It's also that. What happened, it happened in history. But the Torah is also, that's one level of the Torah. The deeper levels of the Torah are that the Torah is very practical, every word, every idea, for every moment of our life, to make our life better. How so? Let's see. Also, we have to define, what does it mean to make your life better? What does that mean, to make your life better? To be more rich, to be more famous? We'll see. And generally speaking, it's to be more meaningful. In the Torah, we did that. Base. L'shem Beersheba, the name Beersheba, this is where Yaakov came from. Omeret HaTorah, the Torah says, Shnei Nemukim. The Torah gives us two reasons why it's called Beersheba. Number one, Bigalal HaShavua, because of the oath. Shahayata, that was, Bekrita Tabrit, in the covenant, Shebein Avimelech L'Avram, between Avimelech and Abraham. They made a covenant that they weren't going to make war, etc. Mishum Ba'er, and another reason is because of the well, Hashvit, the seventh well, Shechafra, that was dug, La'achar HaShalom, after the peace that was made with Avimelech. In any case, both of these two reasons, whether it's because of the agreement, the oath that they made, Sheva, the oath means a Shavua, or it means the seventh well, both of these Mevatim, Matzav Shel Shalva, Yisrael, are indicating that Beersheba, the name Beersheba, means a good place, a place of peace, a place of success. Vayeitzei Haran, and where did Yaakov go? He went to Haran. Haran is exactly the opposite. Haran is the worst place. You want to take a vacation somewhere? Don't go to Haran. Worst place in the world. Kefi she'omrim Chazal, Haran av shalom. Remember I talked about this last night, remember? Yeah. Haran, it says, is the burning anger of God. Everything there just made God angry. Now you probably noticed, in the world, there's a lot of things in the world that are very strange, and there's a lot of evil people that succeed in the world. And according to Torah, God is creating these evil people. And we can come to the conclusion, and these evil people certainly did come to the conclusion, that this is what God wants. If God is creating them, and they're doing all these bad things, and God does not, evaporate them or something, they still continue to do it, so it must be that this is what God wants. Wants bad things. It says in the Torah you shouldn't do that. That's another option, right? How do you say honesty is the best policy? Sometimes. You heard that before? Yeah, honesty is the best policy sometimes. The golden rule. You ever have the golden rule? Whoever has the gold rules. That's according to the Torah? Well, we see that's the way it works. That's the way the world works. So who is really, that angers God. It makes God mad. God creates them, because God set up the world in such a way that if you do bad things, He's going to keep creating you. Why He decided that? Maybe we'll talk about it another time, but mainly it's to give free will, and you can choose to do what you want to, because if everybody, as soon as they did something bad, got zapped by lightning or something, so there wouldn't be any bad people in the world. It would be pretty easy, right?
There wouldn't be any people.
Right? You're right. Maybe there wouldn't be any people in the world. You got a good point. So it's a good thing that God does not electrocute people or something, whatever, when they do bad things. Even worse, according to the Tanya, it says that when a person does bad, usually he doesn't really know what he's doing. Usually he goes a little bit crazy in order to do good, or he doesn't think it's so bad. Rare is the person that really knows what he's supposed to do, and he doesn't do it. Right? Rare, that person really knows exactly. What would be an example of a person who really knows what he's supposed to do, but he doesn't do it? Me. I know what I'm supposed to do. Do I always do what I'm supposed to do? I mean, I hope Hashem does not see this video, but the fact of the matter is that's the fact, right? You know you're supposed to be positive all the time. You know you're supposed to be friendly all the time. You know you're supposed to have faith in God all the time. You know if somebody does something bad to you, that this is all from God. Everything is good. You should have good. Do it. So if God starts making, being really exact,
you have to look for a new teacher.
Yeah, you have to look for. Okay. Well, you don't have to look for a new teacher. Just don't take examples from me.
Zapped.
Huh?
You'd be zapped.
Zapped, yeah. Okay. Let's go back. But God doesn't do those things. God doesn't do this. But a person that does go against what God says, can you close the door, please, Herschel? When a person goes against what God says, it makes God mad. Well, that was this place of Haron. Haron was a place that was the custom of the country, right? They had these interesting customs. Some places in Mexico they wear sombreros. Some places in Scotland they have kilts. In Haron, the custom was to make God angry. Let's see what it says and do the opposite. Right? Now, and if you really want to do the opposite of what God says, it's not so easy. You got to be clever. For instance, lying. A person who lies all the time, nobody accepts his lies. So he has to tell the truth, and he has to know how to please people and make an appearance that he's really very honest. Then his lies really work. Right? A person who you don't have to go into too many details, but in order to do sins, you have to know what's right, and you have to appear that you're right. A person that's addicted, for instance, to stealing all the time, he always steals. So after a while, it's not even a sin anymore. He's out of control. So it has to be that he knows how to be honest, and he knows how to deal with money, he knows how to put on a veneer. And then he goes, so that was Haron. Haron was the worst person in the world, the worst place in the world, and we'll see that Lavan, he was the mayor of Haron. He was the one that everybody liked, right? This is our guy, right? Most dishonest politician, fantastic, right? Can't believe a word that he says, great, right? He embezzles, he steals money, brings tears to your eyes. You see such a person that nothing he does is honest. Everything that he does do that's honest is only in order to trick you afterwards, right? This is our man. Nobody even ran against him, right? He was so great. So Lavan, who is Lavan? Lavan is exactly the person, no, we're in Aleph here. And Lavan is exactly the person who Yaakov is going to, the worst of the worst. And Lavan is the one that's going to trick Yaakov and trick him into working for 20 years for something he should have worked for a lot less. Let's go. Yesh Makshim. Some people ask, okay, we're on the bottom paragraph. That's right here. Yesh Makshim. Some people ask, HaKadosh Baruch Hu natan lanu Torah v'mitzvahs. God gave us the Torah and the commandments, miyado hamalea v'harachava, from His hand, His open and wide hand. Right? So wonderful. A Torah. Hashem gave us all of His wisdom and will in the Torah. Im kol pin. He took us out of Egypt, gave us bread from heaven. Fantastic. Sha'anu ponim, kol pina sha'anu ponim, yeshno mitzvahs aseh v'hanafeh. Everywhere that we look, we can find some sort of a positive commandment to do. O sheyesh li zahero, there should be careful to transgress a negative commandment. As you can, now God made it possible to do His will. You can connect to God every single moment of your life. Everywhere you look, there's a positive commandment, connected to a positive commandment, to love God, to fear God, right? To be friendly, to be nice, not to get angry, etc., not to be honest. Hayelo efol lefchot lesalek meitanu et hadagot. If God gave the whole Torah, and we say God is the king of the universe. I mean, we say it 100 times every day, right? Melech Olam. So God could have taken away all of these worries. Why does it have to be this anxiety? God should just give us everything, right? Like He did when He took us from Egypt. Wonderful. God took us from Egypt. Fantastic. That's God. Oh, that's what gods do. God took us out of Egypt. He smote the Egyptians. He gave us bread from heaven. He gave us water from a rock. Right? He protected us with clouds. Why did He stop? Why did He stop? Why are we in the world now when we have the Torah and we have all these worries all the time? Worries about that we're among the goyim, among people that hate us. Worries about health, children. In order, and not for us, but in order to make it easier for us to do the commandments. Va'af yeter mizu, and even more than this, lahav yildei kach. God could have brought it to this. We're on the very last line. See, very last line. Kach. Shelo Yehe Lanu, that we should not even have Kol Maga, any contact in Yane Olam, with the world. Kedei, in order, Shin Nishahe Yoter, so that we can take more time, Ba'olo Shel Torah, in the Torah, learning Torah. Now you sit and learn Torah, right? If you have your cellular phone with you, you're finished. You sit and learn Torah, your wife calls up, your son calls up, your neighbor calls up, your boss calls up, your client calls up, right? The city calls up, the police call up. And there's all sorts of worries and bothers and troubles that are going on. Why doesn't God just take care of it? Kalapi kach, in order to answer this question, Misaper the Torah tells us the way of Yaakov. Kalomer, Derech Yisrael, the way of the Jewish people, the taharatam, in their purity, kadei shehem kavar la'atzmam, as Jews are in themselves. Jews, not like Avram that came Ishmael, not like Yitzchak that came also, he had a bad son, Yitzchak, but like Yaakov, shemitato shlema, that his bed, in other words, his offspring, was complete. All of the children of Yitzchak of Yisrael, Yaakov, Yisrael, were all big tzaddikim. Kasher Amad Yaakov Linaseh, when Yaakov was just about to get married, even though that Beit Yisrael to build a house in Israel, Ne'amarlo, it was said to him, let's say me Beersheva, what did his mother say? You're going to get married. Leave the comfort of home. Leave Beersheva. Lazov et yeshivot shem be'aver, to leave the places of learning of Shem and Aver. Have you ever heard that before? The yeshiva of Shem be'aver. You're sitting now in the yeshiva. Yes. There was what's called the yeshiva of Shem be'aver. Shem was one of the sons of Noach, and he made a yeshiva, and the yeshiva was the place where they learned the 7 Noahide commandments. They learned all the other principles of Torah. Maybe they learned Kabbalah. I don't know what they learned. To tell you the truth. They learned Yaakov, in any case, sat and he learned there day and night for 14 years, sat and learned. L'lechet l'charon. And they said, go, after he left his parents, he went to learn in this yeshiva. But after that, it said, now you want to get married? Yeah, we're not going to bring the shidduch to the yeshiva. We're not going to bring the yeshiva to the yeshiva. So what a beautiful learner you are and how great you are. That's very nice, but that's not for the Jews. You go to Charon. Charon af Shalom, the worst place in the world. That's where you're going to find your wife. That's where you're going to raise your children. Makes sense. But that's the place. That's the fact. And that answers the question why we have, God forbid, troubles. We don't want the troubles, and we want God to. We pray 3 times a day that God should take away the trouble. Haser mimenu yogan v'anacha. That God should take away the troubles. No, but nevertheless, we have what to pray for. Right? There's a lot of troubles in the world, a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties, and we are the Jews. We're supposed to be God's chosen people. And what do we get? Holocaust, and what doesn't make any sense. What's going on? So the Rebbe said, "You're right. It does not make any sense." And that, I'm going to try to make a little bit of sense out of it. Yaakov, in order to make the Jewish people, had to leave the comforts of Torah and holiness and blessing and his parents' home and a protected place and a safety zone, comfort zone. And he had to go to the worst place in the world where there was danger in front of him every moment, and that was in Haran.
But they also sent him away because Pesach wanted to kill him.
And that was arranged that way. That's another question. Why did it arrange it that way, that his brother would want to kill the holy Yaakov? Not only that Yaakov got a blessing from his father, Yitzchak, that he would rule over his enemies. It's really sort of very paradoxical if you think about it. Here Yaakov gets this big blessing from his father. And then he's going to rule over his enemies, and he's going to get blessings from heaven, blessing from earth, right? And he ran away. You got a blessing from your father. What are you running away for, right? He had to run away. On the other hand, Asa, that he was supposed to be the big evil guy, right? He was all angry. Why was he angry? Because he didn't get the blessings. He believed in the blessings. So it comes out that paradoxically, Yaakov did not believe in the blessing. So it seems. He didn't believe in the blessing. He got a blessing. He was going to rule over his enemies. He's got nothing to worry about. And he worried. And so it ended up, he didn't 100% believe, and that's what it seems anyway, in the blessing. And Esav, he was the bad guy, he did believe in the blessings. He wanted the blessings badly. He was all angry that Yaakov got the blessing from him. In any case, after Yaakov got all these blessings, all of a sudden Esav wanted to kill him, and he had to run away, and he had to run for his life. And where did he run to? The worst place in the world. Says the Rebbe, this is coming to show us something about the Jewish people. The Jewish people are not what you think. They're not what you think. We'll see why. Lifnei shehaya omed lahakim Yisrael, before he began to stand with the Jewish people, haya be'efsharuto, it was possible, v'haya tzarich, and it should have been, liot be'Beersheva, he should have been in Beersheva. Okay, Herschel, l'makom, on the place, shaya gilei elokus b'muchash, where there was revealed godliness clearly, bo mitkablet mutzos benakal, mitzvahs, there you could do the commandments easily. Va'averos, and to do sins was very difficult. Because his parents would always say, don't do this, don't. But in order to build the Jewish world, the world of Judaism, Jewish people, he had to leave Beersheva, and to come to this place of Haran. L'makam shel Helen v'Hester, a place where godliness was concealed. Gam olam b'levad hu kishmo milashon Helen. World. The word for world. What's the word for world in Hebrew? Olam. The word olam in Hebrew has all of the letters of concealment. Helem. You ever heard that before? He'elem. He'elem means to be concealed. Same letters. Ayin, Lamed, Mem. He'elem. Kol shechein charov av shel olam. God, when He created the world on a condition that He would be concealed. That was one of the reasons He created the world, was that God would not be revealed at all. What does it mean it wouldn't be revealed at all? Here, like we see in Israel, God makes big miracles, and everybody says it wasn't miracles, it was nature. Right? The Arabs shot at us 450 missiles a couple weeks ago, and no one was hurt. Why? They're bad shots, and we have these anti-missile missiles, and they shot 450, and our missiles intercepted 100 of them. So let's say they're really bad shots, and they really missed 300 of the missiles, but 50 of them got through. Those missiles are pretty powerful. Did you see the video? There was a video of one of the missiles that fell in the middle of a busy intersection in Israel. It fell in the busy intersection. It just happened to be when it fell. I mean, it was a big, major explosion. It was a big explosion. I don't know. It must have been 50 hand grenades. I don't know how powerful it was. It was a big, huge flash of fire. that was as big as, it must have been, the expanse of it must have been like a regular, normal house. It was really big. It just happened to be that no one was standing there and no cars passed and that, and didn't fall in the street. It fell in the corner, off the side of the street, so it didn't even wreck the pavement of the street. It didn't even interfere with traffic. You saw the miracle in front of your own eyes. You could see the miracle in front of the eyes, right? What did the Israeli government do? Absolutely nothing. Who did something? Only God. God protected him. Everybody said, it wasn't a miracle. Things like that happen.
I don't know any of those people.
Oh yeah, sure. People say, God saved us from 400 missiles. It's no miracle. 3-4 years ago, they shot 4,500 missiles in Gaza. That's the way things go here. Huh?
Everyone knows it's a miracle.
Nobody gets too impressed about it.
It happens all the time.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Miracles.
The Rebbe has another sikha where it says, the Yetzer Hora, how does the evil impulse, has all sorts of really clever tricks that it plays on a person. Which, you would hate it if it wasn't for the Yetzer Hora is me. I myself, the Yetzer Hora is, right? It's not like he's telling me, I'm telling myself. It says, when God does a miracle, and there's no way of denying it's a miracle. Everybody knows it's a miracle, everybody sees it's a miracle. What does the Yetzer Hora say? So big deal, God does a miracle. What do you think? That's what God is. God does miracles. So what? It's such a big deal. I mean, it's nothing compared to making the sun come up and the moon. So don't get excited. The main thing is not to get excited. That's the main thing. Don't get excited. Don't get excited about God. Don't get excited about Torah. Don't get excited about mitzvahs. Get excited about being a Jew. Don't get excited. You want to say it's nice, it's a good thing, but don't get excited. It shouldn't be a thing that makes you, emotional. How about God? Says the Rebbe, look what happened. God put us in the world. World is the language of concealment. Concealment means that even when you see miracles, they're concealed. If the world itself conceals God, how much more so this place of Charon covers over God. Okay, Herschel. Makom zeh ha'averot mitkablot b'kalot. In Charon, sins come easily. V'mitzvos v'kushi rav. And the commandments, to do a commandment is very difficult. You do a commandment over there in Charon, everybody laughs at you, they make it difficult, they trick you, Umitoch kach she'omer b'nisyonos, because Yaakov was able to withstand these difficulties and tests, bana et Beit Yisrael, he built the Jewish people, mitato shlema, it says that his offspring were complete. So the essence of the Jewish people is finding the soul power to overcome obstacles. Then it won't last long. Judaism won't last long. That was Napoleon's big trick. Napoleon was a genius in this. He realized you want to make the Jews, he realized that his enemy was the Jews. His enemy was the Jews. As long as the Jews believed in God, he didn't have a chance. The only thing he could do was get rid of the Jews. How do you get rid of the Jews? By being nice to them. Big genius. Be nice to them, be friendly to them. I read once, I think I told you, a little pamphlet by a famous French philosopher, existential philosopher, called Jean-Paul Sartre, a very famous, you ever hear of him? No. Jean-Paul Sartre. He just died recently. I don't think he died that long, in the 50s. Who knows what it is, 50s, 60s. And he was a big genius. He wrote a whole big book, Being and Nothingness. And he wrote a little book, somebody gave it to me, about the Jews. And the whole book, it's a little booklet, 50 pages, I don't know, something like that. Praising the Jews, how great the Jews are, how unique the Jews are, how much the Jews have contributed, how the Jews are special, how the Jews are the conscience of the world, how the Jews are this. And finally, in the end, like the last page of the book, he says, so if we want the Jews to dissolve and get rid of them, and the only way is that they should intermarry with us, and then there won't be any more Jewish people. So that was like the whole, the Jews stick out like a sore thumb. So we got to get them somehow or other integrated, into French culture, like putting a little bit of sugar in the you're a soup or something like that, salt in the soup. You don't want the salt to stick out. That dissolves. The Jews will dissolve. Clever. But the idea is to get rid of the Jews. That's now the missionaries in Israel. Right? There's the Arabs want to kill us physically, and they want to destroy us spiritually. They're our friends. We love you. Israel belongs to Jews, for sure. Here we are. Challenges. The essence of Jews are challenges. To meet challenges, to transform challenges, to overcome challenges. That's the essence of the Jewish people. That's what the Jewish people are founded on. Where do we know that from? From Yitzchak, from Yaakov. His parents sent him to Haran, the worst place in the world, and there he had to raise a family, the 12 tribes. How can you transform this world to godliness? How do you do it? We're here, how do you do it? Very nice philosophy. Right, that's just, listen to this. Very practical advice. See where we are? We have this. When Yaakov went to Haran, this place called Haran, what's the first thing that he did? Listen to this, rabbis. This is very important. I learned the Sikha a long time ago. And this has really been a guiding light in my life. This came from 1951, the Rebbe said this. 1951. I didn't read it in 1951, but I read it maybe 1971.
How old was the Rebbe at the time when he said this? This was pretty young.
The Rebbe just began to be...
He was like 20-something.
Rebbe. No, he wasn't 20. The Rebbe was born in Taf Reish Samech.
1903.
1903. Okay, Samech Beis he was born. And so the Rebbe was 49. Something like 49. Hu amad litpalel. What is the first thing that Yaakov did when he came to this terrible place, Haran? What is the first thing he did? Vayivka b'makom, he prayed. Prayed to God. L'chaor, at first glance, a person is going to Haran in order to find his wife. Tzorech barosh b'rishon, the first thing he should do, lilmod as-safat minhagi medina, to learn the language and the customs of the country. Lilbosh et talbushat medina, to put on the garments, don't look different. Be'ilu Yaakov, what did Yaakov do? Pushed all these things away. Va'asak b'avodat tefillah. The first thing he did was pray. Kamor, like we said before, Meshamash Sipur beYaakov, Kakol Sipur Torah. This story about Yaakov, like all the stories of the Torah, they are Hora, the Kol Adoros, a teaching for all generations. Okay, Herschel. Kishe Echad Holech Livanot Bait B'Yisrael. You want to go and build a house in Israel. You want to go and get married. Yes. You want to have a family? Certainly. Alul hu lachshov, a person might think, Tinach, okay, ad ata, until now, Yeshavti, I sat, V'lamadati Torah. You with me? You with me, please? You see? Yeshavti, very good. V'lamadati Torah, and I learned Torah. V'asakti b'tefillah, and I worked in prayer. B'mitzvos, and in the commandments. Ach, but, Ata now, Kishani Yotzei El Olam, when I'm going out to the world, Alai Laniach, I must leave. Kol Ze Vitmaser Lelimud V'chikoi Minagi Amedina. I've been sitting in my yeshiva, and I've been learning Torah, and now I'm finished learning Torah, I'm going to go get married. You get married, you can't work in Torah, you can't do those things. Learn Torah was a preparation, and that's it, right? Pretty logical. I mean, a person who learns computers, or learns to be a doctor, or he learns this, he doesn't go back to university. He's finished university, right? Maybe once in a while he reads a journal or something to keep up with the time, but he doesn't work up with the same thing. I graduated from university, like some people say, right? The bar mitzvah. Bar mitzvah is you graduate from Judaism. That's all. You left. You finished. You don't go back to Judaism. You finished the bar mitzvah, right? You're finished. Says the Rebbe the same thing. That seems pretty foolish, right? Bar mitzvah is finishing. Well, that's what people do. People go to the yeshiva. They sit and they learn. They become very good, and they pray. But now you're going to get married. It's a different business. You're going to get married. First of all, you got to get a job. It's true. You have to do those things. It's true. You have to do it. You have to get a job. You have to have a nice house. So you do. Why not? Sure. Nice clothes. You have to be like everybody else, more or less. According to halacha. That's what you have. That's true. But that's not the first thing that's true. The first thing you have to do is pray. You're going to start something new. Pray every day. That's why every day we start the day with prayer. But not just when we pray. You go to the synagogue and you say what's written in the book. Right? You pray to God from yourself. Your own prayers. Your own prayers. Hashem, help me. I'm going to start something new. Hashem, give me success. I'm going to sit down and learn now. Hashem, give me success. Hashem, help me that I should learn, that I should take the knowledge that I have and do what you want with it. La'aroch mirutz el toshvei medina. People think, now I'm going into competition. Ne'emar lo al kach. It says, lo. Don't do it. La'eza misima yesh litmaser. What is your first goal that you should have? Okay, Herschel? Vayivka b'makom. The first thing is to pray. Adarabah. Dav ka'ata. Specifically now, that you're going to build a family. Now is the time not to forget about God. Litmaser leyivka b'makom. You must give yourself over to, it says, Vayivka b'makom, that he reached the place. It says, reach the place. Rashi explains he prayed. Now, when you were learning in the yeshiva, if you prayed then, so really now you should really pray. B'midi yatera mi'asher arata. Now you have to really pray. Shekein kol avodah she'arata she'asik b'Torah. Everything you did as preparation to the wedding, preparation to getting into the world. You learned Torah. You did the commandments. You prayed. Eino maspika lamatzavo anochachi. What you did up to now is never sufficient, because when you were in the yeshiva, you didn't have any big challenges. Now you're going to get married. You're going to have big challenges. Right? We talked about that last night. Remember, a person gets married. Why do they make weddings? Hear me, Herschel. Why do they make a wedding when a person gets married? They're spending all this money, throwing away money, precious money they could use for making the house, for building the, Right? So why make a wedding? This is the reason to make the wedding is because the main ingredient in getting married is you have to be happy. And how can you be happy? Only if you're connected to Hashem. In the wedding, it's a little bit hard. So people come and they make you happy. Right? There's the blessings under the chuppah to remind you about God all the time. Everybody comes dancing and they're dancing and dancing. So remember, a wedding, being married is supposed to be a happy thing. Right? You get involved and you see it's not happy. What's going on? There's charon, there's different difficulties. It says Yaakov had the same problem. And God wanted him to have that problem. Because that's the job of a Jew, is to be in a place where there are problems and to correct the problems. Not the world get you down, but exactly the opposite. You get the world up. There was a story. I think I told you the story a lot of times, but I'll tell the story again. I just heard it the other day. Let me just finish this paragraph and there's this. Now you're going to go into the world. For tests and difficulties that are incomparable to what they were when they were in the yeshiva. What were your problems in the yeshiva? They made a little bit of noise in the nighttime. Your bed wasn't so comfortable. There wasn't enough tomatoes or something in the lunchroom. Those were big problems. Good. When you're in the yeshiva, those things are blown out of proportion. They're big problems. But you get into the world, suddenly you realize, I wish my problems were only tomatoes. People were making trouble in the nighttime. I wish. That's called a big test. Incomparable to what was before. A love, a foe. Therefore, what are you supposed to do? Pray. Pray to God. sometimes the last thing, the easiest thing to do is to pray to God, and it's the last thing we do. The last thing we do. Right? The solution to all problems is prayer. It doesn't mean that God is going to take away the problems, but it means that you'll be able to take the problems in the proper way. And also we pray to God that He'll take away the problems. That's for sure. Right? It's not just psychological. But for sure, if you pray, you connect yourself to God, then you at least put all the problems in the proper perspective. You don't overreact. You don't act in a negative way. And that takes away already 90% of the problem. So I'll tell you the story. I hear the story a lot of times, and I'll tell you the story about, what was his name? Zvadani. The one who tells the story, it was one of these videos that they have of the Rebbe. And the man tells the story that he was in the Yom Kippur War. The Yom Kippur War was terrible because the Israeli government completely did not support the soldiers. They put the soldiers in this danger, and they didn't warn them in time. And the Egyptians and the Syrians and everything, they attacked, and there was just tremendous carnage. I mean, unfortunately, it was a big miracle that there were only like 3,000 men killed or 2,000 whatever men killed, because they broke through. They could have just, God forbid, decimated all of Tel Aviv and everything. There was nothing standing between them. If you read stories, it's just shocking. Anyway, there were a lot of really big miracles that happened. And the Rebbe even said that the miracles that happened in the Yom Kippur War were bigger than any of the miracles in the Tanakh, in the prophets, and in the Bible. Because it ended up that the Egyptians broke through the lines on the south, and the Syrians broke through the lines, and for some reason they stopped. And to this day, they haven't really figured out why they stopped. Right? They stopped for replacements. They stopped for whatever it was. They stopped, and that gave and also the fact that they attacked on Yom Kippur left all the roads open so they could. Okay. Anyway, the one who tells the story, I don't remember what his name is, an Israeli, and he said he was like a commander in the war, and suddenly they got a message from the high command that they were the only troops that were standing between the Egyptians and Tel Aviv, and that they had to hold the Egyptians off. This is, what are they going to hold? All they had was like bazookas, and the Egyptians had like tanks, like 100 tanks or something like that. And he said it was a doubt by them if they even had enough. First of all, how much good could these bazookas do against the tanks, especially if they attack frontwards? If they hit from the side, maybe you can do, but they were attacking frontward. Not only that, there was a doubt if they even had enough missiles against the tanks themselves. So all the men said, how can we possibly stand against all these tanks? We haven't got any power. To run away, I mean, they had to fight, because to run away, the Egyptians would have not only caught up with them, they would have decimated all of Tel Aviv. So they had to stand their ground. But on the other hand, what are they going to do? So they were finished. They just gave up. One fellow stood there, a Yemenite guy, and these were all totally non-religious, anti-religious, typical Israeli kibbutznik Jews. No connection to anything. Except the one who's telling the story, he had a little more connection. Maybe he was Sephardi or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but he had a little more connection to Judaism. But the rest of them, they came. Their parents were non-religious. Their grandparents were, no one knows what, non-religious. Anyway, so this one Yemenite guy, he said, this is going to save us. And he held up a book of Psalms. And he started reading Psalms. And every time he would finish one of the Psalms, he said these people were so ignorant about everything would finish the sentence with, everyone would say, Amen. You only say Amen after blessings, but they would say Amen. They were totally ignorant of any Judaism. And he said, anyway, it ended up that he inspired all of them, and they fought, and miraculously, they knocked out a lot of Egyptian tanks, and the Egyptians fled. And he made a vow that if he lived through this, he swore he would put on tefillin. And this guy, Zvadani, the one who read the Psalms, he was the only one killed. Everybody else came out alive. Miraculously. It was impossible. He was the only one that was killed. And this fellow, I guess it was after that he lost his arm. He lost his left arm. Which that was a whole story also that he told, an incredible story that he told about how he lost his arm. Anyway, so that's really the point of the story. I'll finish the story. The point of the story is that when you're in a difficult situation, one person that isn't intimidated by the negativity of the world, that he can change the whole world around. This one Yemenite guy, that he was not scared by the impossible odds, is one person. He changed the whole entire thing. But they won. They won the battle. He asked the Rebbe, he came into the Rebbe, he said, listen, I asked a lot of people these questions, and I didn't get any answers. Why is it that he was the holy one of the whole group, he died, and I swore I would put it on my left arm, so I lost my left arm. Doesn't make any sense. If anybody should have been saved, it should have been him, and if anything should have been saved, it should have been my left arm. So he said to the Rebbe, you should know, I asked a lot of people this question, and nobody gave me the answer. So the Rebbe said, the answer is very simple. I don't know what's the problem. He said, Zvadani, really everyone was supposed to have been killed. Everyone was supposed to, you and Zvadani and everyone, they were all supposed to get killed. So, but because Zvadani, he offered himself up for everybody else, and because he was the one that read the Psalms, he made himself pure, so he was taken in place of everybody. Instead of all, whatever his 90 men got killed, only one got killed. And you the same thing. You for sure you should have gotten killed. And he should have gotten killed. This thing of he lost his arm was in another thing, another episode. He said, you should have been killed in that episode. But God didn't want you to get killed. So he took that one part of your arm, of your body that you purified, and he took that instead. And that saved the whole rest of your body. He said, the Rebbe said that, it just took care of all of his problems. He didn't. It doesn't seem from after that, I don't know if he became religious or didn't become religious. Shalom. Okay, good. As we will continue tomorrow.